Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be breaking down Sha'carri's 100 and 200 meter races from this weekend, and we'll start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab. Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become. All right, so we had a lot of great races that happened this weekend. We got to see Christian Coleman, we got to see the NCAA championships, we got to see Sha'carri Richardson, and really what standing out here is really a lot of what we were hoping to see going into or around this time, I would say in 2021, right, with Sha'carri Richardson. She came on really strong, had a lot of great performances, ended up having some issues, I think from a personal perspective, and looking back on it, especially now, seeing that she's back and doing a lot of great things and having a lot of success, it doesn't come as too much of a surprise. Seems like she was really going through a lot of personal things. And so, to be able to see her come back is really exciting, especially with the 200, right? Just because it shows that she has a lot to continue to get better at. Like, this was such a strong overall start. I almost feel like if she would have gotten this type of start in the 200 as she did in the 100, it would have really given her a better chance to be able to win that race. Because when she comes around here in this 200, I mean, she's out in front really nicely, and I almost feel like she in this like step right here, she didn't take a great step, right? Like something happened as she was coming around the curve, right? She goes here, and then this left step kind of makes it so her foot is totally turned out, her legs totally turned out, like everything doesn't seem very good. She has to like kind of catch herself and get herself back stabilized, right? You can see again, she has to go in and re-stabilize this like left foot. Really ended up being high on the ground for a long time and almost like landed back behind her. And again, way off to the side, and her shoulders hit down to the ground, right? So yeah, she had to like get herself back, and then was able to do that and still, hold a strong finish there at the end with the 200, right? So even with her winning and winning fairly easily here and staggering out that 200, just shows how much strength, right, she has, and the fact that there is some degree of rawness, I think, within her technique, and also some degree of unfamiliarity within that 200, right? She doesn't really know or doesn't have as much experience as she does with the 100. Now, with the 100, right, we've seen a couple times her with the start, and I think similar to a lot of these top athletes, right? Like the more that you can get a start similar to a Shelly-Ann Price, a Trayvon Bromell, a Christian Coleman, right? I mean, I know that she won't have the same start as somebody like a Christian Coleman, but the more she can get it similar to that, the better off she's going to be, right? Because we could see like here, she's coming off, we got 0.08, right? And she's hitting the ground at 3.1. Okay, so she's at about 0.23 right there, where we've seen Bromell hit sub 0.2, right? We just saw Ferdinand hit right at 0.2, okay, with his first step. Okay, so the fact that she's taking a good amount of time to be able to get those feet down, right, gives us a good idea that she has the opportunity to be able to get more out of that start, right? We could see like basically everybody here is able to get their feet down before her, or if they're not, then they're getting like a lot more distance per step or in that first step, okay, or getting more width, right? So when you're going out, there's a few different ways of being able to do that, right? So we can see here we get just like a good amount of width coming out, okay, that's a good thing too, right? Because then we can get a good amount of momentum going through, right? So that ends up being a good part of your race, is being able to get that lateral motion, right? We can see that ends up giving a little bit more of an advantage as they're starting, right? Because Sha'carri Richardson really stays very vertical with that start, right? And going right up and through. And again, she gets that foot so high up, right? Look at how high up she gets that foot back behind, right? Where we could see, some of these other women, how low they're keeping their other leg as they're driving through, right? And this seems to be more of what we see at the best starters in the world. Do a great job of coming right straight through with their feet and then being able to come up. Now, from that, she does a great job of, when she gets into her top speed, creating so much vertical and horizontal force, right? So, if she can maintain more of that horizontal action from the beginning, again, more like a Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price, so she like explodes out, right? And then from there can transition into that vertical force. She's going to have a lot more room in the tank, because once she gets going, right, she is a force, right? Because like here, then she gets going, she starts to be able to get a lead, and then again she ends up getting into some type of thing with her step where she doesn't have like a rhythm, right? She's here, she gets going, she gets into her top speed, and then something happens here as she's like about to pull away, where then all of a sudden she starts to have like this hitch, right? Where now like that shoulder drops down, right? And she's not smooth with the running, so then she has to like catch back into her top speed, and by the time she gets going again, she is a little bit too late, right? If she would have had another 20 meters, I think she would have caught her, right? Because right here, you know, once she ended up hitting that hitch, like she started to be able to accelerate, she hits that hitch, and then once she starts slowing down, and it's hard to be able to tell what causes that, right? Where all of a sudden she's, you know, she looks really, really good, she's getting out in front, right? And then all of a sudden there just seems to be like this drop where like her leg, like her sequencing is off, right? Her foot ends up landing like too far out to the side. Maybe her arm is in a weird spot. Like I don't know exactly what it is, but it makes it so she's not able to continue to accelerate. It's not that step. Let's try to find it here. It's this one. Right, it's almost like she like hyperextends, right? Let's see this left one. She does a good job pulling. Look how vertical she is. I mean, just really beautiful when she's running. And then here, like, I don't know if it's like something with her ankle. It's like hard to see with the video 100% what happens. Like, is their ankle like fully extended? Then all of a sudden she like really like flattens out that foot, and that makes it so she kind of comes down. It's hard to tell for sure what it is, right? But that was that step right there. Okay, maybe we'll see like foot contact time wise what ends up being the big difference. Okay, so you see that 2.5 on this one, and looks like, I mean, she doesn't get all the way off at 3.2, but it looks like she's about at 0.32 on that. Whoop. Let's see where she was on the step before. Okay, so if we'll go around that same time, 0.85, I mean, I would say it's probably closer to 0.83 there than 9.1. Okay, so that's definitely faster. Let's go back into that other step again. Okay, so she's here. She's at this point at 2.1, right? Doesn't look like she's hitting the ground yet, but I'm sure it's like shortly after. So it's probably closer to, both these are probably closer to 2.3. So this is closer to 2.3, this is probably closer to 8.3. Right, but she's a little bit more, you know, like off her foot sooner in that second step, right? And let's go again into the third, this step after. Let's see where she's on this one. Okay, she definitely lands way more flat-footed on this one. And yeah, she's closer to 0.15, right? So instead of continuing to accelerate right there, she ended up kind of, you know, having an issue of being able to maintain that same level of like turnover. Right, like she all of a sudden started to struggle with that, and then again she got back up to it. Let's see if we can get this right foot at least, an idea of what's going on here. Because she's probably landing here at 1.9. You know, this is the other foot, so she's landing, and then she's off like probably like 2.7, right? So she went from having like 0.08 foot contact time to then having 0.1, and then being able to go back up to 0.08. Okay, and again, hard to tell what happened. Just could have been time. It could have been rhythm, right? Maybe not as many reps, right? Not going through that drive phase. Top end speed phase is good, but I still think she's really primed to be able. I mean, she still ran what 10.86, right? Like she still ran sub 10.9 with a hitch. Okay, so we'll see. We'll see. I still think she is very young with all of this, right? And still has a lot of things that I'm sure she's working on, and I'm sure she's being able to develop more and more and more. But I also see that she is also performing at a very high level, right? And there's not very many people that can come back from making like a bad step and still be able to, you know, run sub 10.9, especially on the women's division, right? So very impressive. Very, very impressive overall. So yeah, I'll conclude it at that. If you like the information, go ahead and click that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those down below. As always, check out the description. We have a lot of things going with the different programs that we have, right? We want to be able to look into some of the details of your running, right? How many steps you've taken. What are you doing within your start? How much time are you spending on the ground? How much time are you spending off the ground? What numbers should those be, right? And let's really get an idea of the technical aspect of it all. Okay, the more technical you can get within your sprinting, the more information you have about the technique and what that technique should look like, the better off you're gonna be, right? And I always tell people the reason I do these videos, the reason why I think this ends up being really beneficial is because I remember, 4 or 5 years ago trying to look to find how can I run faster and really struggling and being able to, find good information about that. And then it took me, up until this period too, like I feel like really within the past probably 6 months, I've gotten a lot better within how to teach running fast from the start through to the top end speed, right? I mean, I've been good with probably the top end speed for over a year now, but really with the start, been able to connect on a couple things that really make a difference in people understanding how to be able to go from that 0 steps, right, or that setup to 7 steps very fast, picking up a good amount of distance, and then being able to utilize that to be able to get them into their drive phase and top end speed. So yeah, definitely check out the link down below or the links down below in order to find out more about some of the programs we got going on and how you could help yourself in being able to get faster. As always, thanks for watching. Again, if you like the information, click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you soon.